Hey y'all, hey, we are back for another review of Sisters. We're on season 9, episode 15, entitled Family Affair. At the end of last week's episode, we saw when Andy's mama just kind of popped by to give an impromptu visit for her own set of reasons that we'll kind of learn throughout this episode. But what I'm going to go ahead and add right here is that Andy's mama is going to aggravate me as much as Andy has aggravated me for these past 9 seasons. I can already go ahead and tell you that. Either way, we see Andy's mom, and she's basically lining her ass up, taking her to task for kissing in the conference room and, not being professional and blah, 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 blah. And so Dr. Vaughn is trying to introduce herself like, hey, Miss Valerie, I'm Dr. Vaughn, I'm Andy's friend, whatever, whatnot. And she tells him she's really not, well, first of all, before she learns that he's a doctor, she's like, he's like, my name is Vaughn, or whatever it is. And she's telling him like, oh, well, you need to take that up with the Lord, So she's going to be a Jesus freak. She's going to be one of them. That's just what she's going to be. And then I think Andy introduces him as Dr. Vaughn. And now that she realizes that he's a doctor, now we got the Jesus freak. We got the appearances. We got all the other things that Miss Valerie got going on in these first few minutes that we've learned who she is. Oh, he's Dr. Vaughn, and now she has a little bit more respect for him, of course, because of the title, blah, 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 blah. The tune has changed and whatever and whatnot. Okay, so Andy is, she's kind of unnerved. You can kind of see where she kind of becomes childlike, or she's kind of unnerved. She's moved by the fact that her mom's there and trying to figure out, like, what do you want? And, of course, they're just like, Mama's just giving her sass and attitude and all the other things. All right, so Mama is there because Deacon Jones at the church asked her if she knew if Andy was okay. Of course, it's that old black people thing where, we ask him, but we're asking because we got the tea and we just know you don't have the tea. We're trying to give you the tea without saying you ain't got it. It's real passive aggressive. It's real aggravating, but that's what's happening, right? Oh, but is Andy okay? I know she's going through right now, but, is she all right? Well, what happened to Andy? I don't know what's going on. What's going on with my child? That's probably how the conversation went. Anyway, so now Andy's trying to play coy, and her mom is like, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. Everybody down at the church already know she was about to marry this man. I didn't know nothing about it. I wasn't invited to. You almost got unalived by another man's wife. Like, it was a lot. And Mama already had all the information. You're asking me, but you already know the answers. Either way, now Andy has to come clean and tell her mom everything that happened with Jordan and almost marrying Gary and everything else. And Mama is just glad that Jesus Christ stepped in and the wedding didn't go over. But not, in my mind, this is my impression, it's not because you are glad that, she's out of the situation, but because it would not have looked good for her to get married without her mama present or her mama having known about it, whatever, whatnot. Okay, so her mama is acting like her world would have been shattered and torn apart, and Andy is her girl, and she would hate to have anything to have happened to Andy, and basically she acting like her world would have been changed. And Andy's like, girl, because her mom was like, oh yeah, me and you talk every week, and that just would have crushed me if anything had happened. And Andy's like, girl, what are you talking? Like, we rarely talk once a year or once a quarter, every now and again. So let's not act like we're just so close and so bonded and so locked in that not saying that your heart would not have been hurting because I'm your daughter, but because don't act like we were just so locked in twin. That's not what the relationship is giving. So obviously there's an ultimate motive, and we'll kind of try to figure that out in this episode. All right, so we see Karen and Aaron, and they are discussing their plans about moving away. And she asked them, like, again, she's asking him, like, are you really sure that this is what you want to do? And he says yes. He's like, yep, I'm with you 110%. Let's go. And then Pam calls Karen to ask her about coming back from the shop from maternity leave because, girl, your clients understand, but they're not that understanding. They want to know when you're going to be back. So she doesn't really give Pam an answer, but then she does realize, like, at some point she's got to give Pam an answer as well, because if you're leaving the shop, you got to forget the logistics with that. But she tells Aaron, like, she doesn't have the heart to break the news to her yet. So we'll get back to telling Pam. And mind you, she's also in a partnership with Ms. Willis, so I'm not sure how tying all those loose ends up are going to be, or if she ever actually gets to leave. Not sure, because how is she going to be a part of the season in another location? Like, are we getting spinoffs? Like, I don't know, but I'm just talking it through. All right. Karen's mama stops by And she breaks the news to her. And of course, Mama's like, are you running from something? The general questions that people ask. But Mama does, by the end of the conversation, get on board. And Mama doesn't think she's ready for it, but she assures her mama, like, there's constant memories of pain here. We've done the research in the new city. There's a branch of my support group there. Like, letting her mama know, like, I'm not just flying by the seat of my pants. There's a plan there, and, I look forward to seeing it through, essentially. So Mama is relieved that there's some research that's been done, and she does affirm to Cameron, like, hey, I understand, Mama being a free spirit herself, because in early seasons we saw where Mama was like a motorcycle gang, a girl. She was on a motorcycle just going, minding her business after she's gotten out of the Marine, if I'm not mistaken. Like, Mama's just kind of used to picking up and going, so she's not going to hold her daughter back in that aspect. So she offers her understanding and her support, and, I watch the baby when you guys need me, while you're getting packed up. So things seem to have gone over well with the mom. So we're going to be kind of trying to break this news throughout this episode as well. Okay, we see Hayden, and he is talking to Fatima, and he's there to confront her about dropping Chaz before consulting with him. And she has to remind him, like, hey, I'm the one that brought him to the table. Like, chill. Like, you here as our co-captain, but not really an equal partner. Like, everybody calm down. So she tells Hayden, like, listen, he's a liability. And he's like, well, let me guess. He started liking you. Zach didn't like it. Now you get rid of him. Blah, 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 blah. And whatever. So he reminds her, like, listen, we're partners in this thing. You need to let me know what's going on. Like, how we going to overcome this loss or these potential losses? Like, what's up? And of course, now she has to give him, like, the plan B, so to speak, like in case the basketball player thing falls through or there's some backlash with letting Chaz go, we got to figure out what's next. And she's already thought about that. She knows that the male athletes are very sought after, and of course there's lots of money that potentially comes in with them, but there's an untapped market that we could potentially lean into, and that's going to be the female athletes, whether that's WNBA, any other league where the women are a part of, because again, that's an untapped market. Big name lawyers and them don't really go after them. So of course there is less profit to be made, but more volume, which could offset the loss in profit, because we know with the bigger name and the bigger price ticket when it comes to the men, there's a lot more scandal that comes with them as well that the women don't typically have or are a part of. So, a catch-22, just trying to offset some of this stuff and kind of lean in, and I can see that. So, I'm thinking like, okay, for every basketball player, we might need 3 to 4 female basketball players, like to kind of offset the big ticket that doesn't come with being a female in sports. So, understandable, untapped market. We'll see, how that works out, and he seems to agree. So, crisis averted when it comes to Hayden. All right. Andy confronts her mama because she knows you're only there because you're worried about what the church has to say and image, and like I said earlier, what it's going to look like to people. Not that she is so horribly concerned about Andy's safety. Maybe, but on the list of priorities, the safety is probably a 5, the image is probably a 2. Unfortunately, and her spotless reputation. So she asked Andy to drive her to her aunt Myra's house, which is like 30 minutes out, because she refuses to stay with her while she's in town because she don't know what's going on in that den of sin and all this annoying stuff that, old black people really just piss me off about. All right. And she was like, girl, take the car service. Like, I'm horribly busy at work. I can't stop. My work is piling up. I got things to do. Since you don't want to stay with me and you're so judgmental, girl, go stay at your sister's house. Take the car service, take the Uber, however you get there. Not really my business. Okay. And so she tells her mom, like, listen, my workload is piling up. I can't be taking off. You showed up. No notice. You're going to have to get to Aunt Myra's house the best way you can. So she was like, listen, you need to be delegating some of this work to your friend/assistant. That's what I told you about, like mixing your friendship and your business. Now your workload is piling up and you need to get her on task. And Andy's like, mama, I understand, but she's working on stuff for me and stuff that's not for me, and stuff that I've assigned her, stuff that I've not assigned her. Basically, she kind of like inadvertently threw Fatima under the bus, but tried not to, is what I got from that. But mama's like, she's there to throw around whatever power she thinks she has, and she's going to say something to Fatima. Not anything that Andy said, but it's almost giving like mama is saying what Andy may have thought in passing, but never said to nobody. If that makes sense. Okay. because we know that Andy did have a lot of attitude when it came to Fatima working with the basketball players and all this other stuff and not being on task. Mind you, this is just kind of one instance of her not being on task as opposed to dozens and dozens of other instances of her being on task. But this is my theory. I think Andy doesn't have anything to focus on right now because, listen, we got 9 seasons of Andy with Gary and Jordan and Robin. Like, there's been a man to kind of keep her at bay, or kind of keep her in this dream girl sequence where she's fantasizing about marriage and children and all this other bullcrap. She don't really have a pet project, so to speak, right now, being a man or what comes with them. So now you honing in on the other people that are closest to you and kind of having attitude, like having attitude with Fatima because she might have dropped the ball on a couple things, or having attitude with Karen because she relied on Fatima. Just having redirecting that energy in a way that's not helpful, because now your Dr. Cruz stuff is kind of halted by your partners. Like that's just what I think. Y'all let me know. Let's talk about it in the comments. If y'all understand what I'm saying. Okay. We see Fatima, she gets home from work, and we see that Gary is more than happy to share the news about the 100K that randomly showed up in his account. We're not sure how it got there just yet. It might be an investment that paid off. We need to track that down, but we don't know right now. Either way, she also tells him about Mr. Keys and about Mr. Keys knowing her dad, and she's hesitant because he wants them to meet him. He wants all 3 of them to kind of get together and talk and all this other stuff. And Fatima's hesitant because she's like, well, why are you telling you this now? You don't even know your dad. Like, just being protective of Zach, how she's always been. So I'm sure we'll see how the relationship between Zach and Mr. Keys is going to further develop. I'm sure he's probably going to sit in a parental role, and it's going to be a transition. It's going to be a hard transition having a parent or somebody sit in that parental role when you have not had to have that. Like, yeah, you had your mom, but she was on drugs, so no real parental role there. Never really knew your dad, so no parental role. And then Mr. Keys kind of stepping in, being that wisdom. It's going to be a rough transition. I'm sure of it. Okay. Andy's mama catches up to Fatima at the office. I don't know why those are swapped, but, here we are. And mama is kind of shading Fatima left and right, being real short, real sassy. And so she says that whatever's going on, whatever Fatima got going on, is kind of has Andy stressed and overworked and at her wit's end. And mama tells her, like, listen, girl, if you don't get your stuff together, Andy's gonna fire you. Mind you, Andy did not say that. Andy did not even allude to that. But the mama put that together just from Andy having a high workload and work stress. She came to that conclusion. Either way, she's presenting it as if Andy did say it. Again, Andy did not say that. Andy did not imply that. So Fatima's like, girl, is that what Andy said? And the mama's like, well, she don't have to say it. I'm saying it for her. All right, whatever. And then she asks her, like, and while we here, who is this Dr. Vaughn and what's his relationship with Andy? And so, girl, you just being messy now. Because it gave like you tried to plot pin Andy and Fatima against each other, much like how Hayden did in earlier seasons, just so Fatima can get mad and tell you what you want to know about Dr. Vaughn. And of course, Fatima did not come up off no information or anything like that. So, yeah. Okay, so she's on the phone talking to Zach, Fatima, after this interaction with Miss Valerie. And she tells her, like, Andy's, like, giving off stank, and her mama giving off stank on her behalf, talking about potentially firing me if I don't pull it together. Mind you, I've done entirely too much for Andy for it to be going down like this. Like, I'm going to confront her. And Zach is like, you should, because I'm with you, girl. You done did a whole lot for this girl, both on and off the clock. So everybody calm down. Just because you're not going through right now, don't act like I didn't help you when you were going through. Okay? All right. And then Zach is like, I don't know what the angst is about. And then, I don't know how he came to the conclusion, but he was like, this is the fine time to tell Fatima. Well, I think Fatima might have said, like, Andy's kind of been acting weird since the night of the blackout and Karen and the baby and everything. And so I guess Zach is replaying everything that happened that night. In those instances, he realized, like, oh, yeah, I did see Andy naked. So he feels like this is the time to tell Fatima, like, girl, I did see your friend naked. The one time, I saw her naked. I took her home to get dressed, and she didn't hear me. I walked in the room by accident. Nothing else happened. My bad. And Fatima's like, okay. Like, didn't nobody bother telling me? He's like, yep. with everything that's going on with the baby passing and everything else, slipped my mind. My bad. Is we cool? We cool enough, but I'm going to talk to Andy about all of this. So I'm going to holler at you later. Okay. We see Karen. Karen calls a happy hour with the girls, and I'm assuming it's to break the news that her, Baby Faith and Aaron are going to move on to another city. Not sure which city yet, but they're moving, and she has to break the news to everybody in her life. So we get there, and we see Karen, like, she's all gussied up. She done put on her good wig, her good clothes, she appears to be in better spirits, which is a plus, which would allude to, just the thought of moving to another city is kind of brightening her spirits. It's probably going to be the best move for her in this moment, surely. I'm just going to put my money on that. Either way, but before she can get around to spilling the tea to the girls about them moving, Fatima comes rolling up as well, and she was like, Andy, sorry y'all, I don't mean to interrupt, but me and Andy need to have a little chat. And Andy's like, she's trying to get from up under it. She's like, well, I'm currently having a conversation with my friends. She was like, girl, it can wait. But our conversation cannot. So we're going to go ahead and go over here. I'll be at the bar and you come meet me over there because I need to holler at you. So these two are going to have a conversation and we'll see how that works out next week. I'm sure that Karen's going to keep breaking the news to everybody. And also Danny. Danny was flirting a lot with the little cop that was trying to help them find Karen when she was missing. So I'm assuming it's going to be easier for her to flirt with him because Tony is being aggravating and he's pressing her to move in, and money's probably drying up and her hours are being cut, so there's going to be a lot of strain that's going to be happening there. Either way, let me know what y'all think about it. Think about the season so far. I think we got a few more episodes before we're at the end of season 9. Either way, that's all I got. This has been season 9, episode 15. Let me know what you think and we'll talk about it in the comments. In the meantime, like, comment, share, subscribe, or whatever it is that you feel like doing, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.